Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chasey love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko squeezy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko squeezy.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I hope you're all doing well and having a pleasant weekend thus far. Welcome to Over to You. Welcome, everyone. I'll give you guys an opportunity to share the link, and we're going to just go ahead and wrap up this week. You know, we usually wrap up the entire week on Over to You. So that's what we're going to do this evening. I know there's been a lot in the news. You know, the 8th Biannual Congress of the AFC has now come to a close. The 22nd Biannual Congress for the PNCR have now come to a close. So there's lots to discuss. There's been quite a bit of shuffling that is happening, you know, throughout both parties. We're going to touch a little bit. Well, there have been some bulldozing done by the PNCR at Sarah Johanna. I was just watching some footage of that, courtesy of Mr. Sherrod Duncan. And Mr. Sherrod Duncan, wherever you are, a pleasant good evening to you, and thank you for making that footage available to the public. You know, thank you so much. Yes, so the PPPC continues to punish Guyanese. And when you see a party take such a position, you must know that they are realizing that their days are numbered. Their days are surely numbered. I want to give you guys a little more time to just share the link, everyone. We're going to have a good discussion tonight. Good night to everyone across the Caribbean. I know some of the countries across the Caribbean was hit by Hurricane Beryl. We're going to touch on that. We're going to just have a quick touch on that. Also, we understand that Guyana is helping with aid and stuff. We're going to touch on that because there's something that's up with that I really need to touch on. So we are going to touch on that quickly. But everyone, please share the link, like the program. Good evening to everyone in the Caribbean. Good evening to everyone in North America. Good evening. Yes, good evening to everyone in North America. Good morning to those out in Europe, in the UK, and those areas, because I think they should be somewhere around midnight or a little after 12 on their side of the pond. You know, just a pleasant, good day, whatever time of the day it is, to everyone. I'm going to go through quickly, and I'm going to do a quick roll call before I get into the issues. Deborah Clark, good evening. Sandra Hanover, good evening. Rhonda Spencer Tom, good evening, my sister. Good evening, good evening. Arlene Rubin Benjamin, good evening, my sister. Miss Shonda Griffith, good evening. Desiree Smart Felix, good evening. New Amsterdam in the house. Donette McPherson, good evening. Sylvia Allen, Charmaine Henry, good evening to you both. Althea Galloway, Donna Joseph, Pam Halls, Beverly Glenn, good evening. Waveney Doris, good evening to you guys. Roshana Tobin Kingston, good evening. Carly Hendy Braithwaite, good evening to you. Dennis Wilson, good evening, Dennis. Big time credit to you. First male name that I call, I was like, where are my brothers this evening? Where are my brothers? So, Dennis Wilson, you're the winner this evening. Sandra Price, good evening. Austin Ogle, good evening. Magnell Persad, good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for joining. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to quickly remind you that Over to You is a show by the people, for the people. This is your show. Saturday, between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. belongs to you. This program is yours. Again, I am honored to be your host. So, our young people earlier this year would have completed the NGSA examination, which, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, was known as Common Entrance. Now it's called the National Grade 6 Assessment. Okay? Our young people would have completed that earlier this year, and the results have now available to them and their parents. And I just want to, across the board, congratulate every single student that would have sat for those examinations. Now, mind you, these students are studying and preparing for these exams on the constant blackouts. Okay, and I'm talking more so for the ones that are poor. All right, for the ones that are poor, I am sure there are students that their house doesn't have electricity, period. Okay, that shouldn't be, but it is the case. All right, it shouldn't be, but it is the case. That's why I want to take the time to congratulate every student, no matter your circumstances, no matter what school you would have gotten, whether it's the local secondary school in your village. Be thankful. Be thankful. Also, I want to say this to the students and the parents. It is early. It is very early. And I quote, it is not where you start, but it's ultimately where you finish. Okay? So continue to encourage these young children and empower them. Sit them down, no matter grade, no matter what school they would have gotten, and tell them that you love them and encourage them, because that's what they need. Okay? The current climate in Guyana, it's very, very tough on students. Okay? But these students still went ahead, they studied, and they sit these examinations. Okay? Again, congratulations to every single child. The ones that would have excelled.
Oh my God. Watch. This is a baby home, watch. Heartless people, I tell you, heartless. What is it? Yeah, I see them with a smile from your face.
All over you there?
Yeah, it's all over me. This is my neighbor. I got for all over.
Everybody you there. Why you
Come be my neighbor.
Are you talking about one people, one nation, one destiny? I don't know.
Again, that's just some footage of what would have occurred in Sarah Johanna yesterday. Same thing happened today. All right. It just shows you what the Guyanese people are currently dealing with. This cannot be a government. This is a group of gangsters. These guys display no level of feeling. They have no empathy. They have no love for the Guyanese people. I'm telling you guys, I am going to be watching closely. I'm going to be watching so close come 2025 to see how backwards people can be to vote back in these gangsters. I just want to sit down and watch the individuals that's going to have the nerve. Those individuals, those don't care individuals who don't care about their mati, who would have the nerve to say that they're going back and voting these gangsters back into power. The PPPC is ruthless. They are ruthless. They are transactional. That's all they are. Guyanese, the picture has been painted. Hillfoot, Success, LBI, Moko. They're giving Auntie Vashti hell at Peter's Hall. Ministry of Housing is one of the worst ministries. From top to bottom. From top to bottom. I'm not just talking about Colin Crowell. I'm talking about Colin Crowell and every single employee that works for him. I don't care. At this point, I don't care. You just bulldoze people with no contingency plan in place to move them. I was looking at the footage from Sherrod Duncan, and I saw the children, the tears in their eyes, the men showing up in masks and sledgehammer. That's government? People working for the government showing up in masks and sledgehammers? I am sorry. The PPPC is a terrorist organization. It's a terrorist organization. And all those who are involved in installing them owes the Guyanese people an apology. They owe to Guyana, CARICOM, everybody across the board. You owe the Guyanese people an apology. The PPPC is a horrible government. It's a horrible government. No. I would have seen people cooking on the road. People cooking on the road. Okay? People are cooking on the road because they are homeless. They are homeless. They are cooking on the road. It is shameful in an oil-producing nation. Our teachers still remain unpaid. And you have this guy, Barry Jagdi, who goes to his press conferences every Thursday. And you reporters that sit there and ask questions, you guys are all complicit. Because I'm sure no question with regards to Sarah Johanna will not be brought to the table. I am sure. Guyana is a very, very sad place. And better needs to be done for the people of Guyana. Now, the Congresses have now come to a close. What steps are going to be taken when it comes to a new voters list? Because I haven't seen any of the parties or their leaders put forth a strategy as to how a new voters list is going to be put in place. And listen, to the Honorable Mr. Vincent Alexander, with all due respect, and you did an awesome job running the PNCR Biannual Congress, you know, being the returning officer and amongst other things. That's over now. We need to pivot now on a national level now. Where are we with regards to biometrics and a new voters list? And what does it take? What does it take to have house-to-house registration and biometrics in place by the 2025 elections? Now, I have to blame the opposition a bit here, because you allow the PPPC to bring and push forward such a robust budget, right? $1.16 or whatever trillion budget. And you're telling me that you didn't make sure a large sum was allocated to GCOM to do house-to-house registration and to get a new voters list in place? Listen, we cannot continue with the posture that there is not going to be any protest, because the same people, whether it's external influences or internal influences, that is saying that you should stay away from protests, when you go back to elections in 2025 with this same bloated list and you come out on the losing end, all the PPP is going to tell you again is you have to challenge this by way of petition. Now, how dunce can we be? I have to use the word loosely. How dunce can we be? We cannot allow this to happen again. There is no way that we can have leaders in place and allow this to happen. It just can't happen. So like I would have said on last week program, where a lot of people was fighting and talking and tugging and pulling for leadership. Being a leader of any of these parties within the coalition, whether it's the PNCR, the AFC, or the WPA, you are in the hot seat. You are in the hot seat. Because the Guyanese people, they need change. They need change. It mustn't be the more things change, they remain the same. No. Things are not going to remain the same. Things cannot remain the same. We have to hold our leaders accountable. And part of that accountability is to make sure that the electoral apparatus in Guyana is working correctly. We have to quickly pivot to this because the election is quickly approaching. It's not waiting on you. It's not waiting on me. It's approaching, and you know that Barry Jagyo is the king rigger. If he and his team was able to rig an election outside of government, what you think they're going to do now? Come on, we have to be smarter than this. We have to be smarter than this. And we can't wait until 10 minutes to midnight to propose what changes we need to see when the election is right upon us. We need to start now. We need to start right now. And all three of these parties across the board, they need to be right now on a recruiting blitz. There are a lot of people out there, PPP supporters, who are on the fence, who is willing to try something new. They are tired of the consistent failures. They are tired. There are many of those people that was bulldozed yesterday and today from Sarah Johanna that would have voted PPP. They would have voted PPP. And look what they're receiving. And I must use this as a warning to the coalition. Under your watch, this must never happen to the people of Guyana. This that is happening under this PPPC dictatorship installed regime must never happen to the people of Guyana under your watch. Never. It is shameful. No empathy at all. No decorum. I'm going to take a minute here to just take a quick look at your comments. Just want to pause here for a second to just take a look at your comments. You know, in 2020, we had deemed the 2020, many had deemed the 2020 elections the mother of all elections. I beg to differ. The PPPC had the first stab at governing and oil producing Guyana. And they didn't, look, you want a grade A through F? In my book, they didn't get an F. They got a Z. The last letter of the alphabet. That is how horrible the PPPC has been. That is how horrible they have been. They have not empowered the Guyanese people in any way or form. Life has not improved for the Guyanese people. Again, roads and bridges don't feed the mouths at home. Could never feed the mouths at home. Corruption could never feed the mouths at home. All right? Gold that is being smuggled out of our country and not hitting the gold board doesn't have a positive effect on our economy when taxes are not levied on the exports. But yet, the PPP is in government and they don't know nothing about these things. They don't know nothing about these things. Barry Jagdeo don't know nothing about that. Right? The Vice video at Barry Jagdeo house in the discussion with Sue, with Barry Jagdeo in the corner there. It wasn't Barry Jagdeo. It was Wayne Caesar in the corner. It wasn't Barry Jagdeo. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to start seeing things for what they are. Barry Jagdeo should be in jail. Barry Jagdeo should be behind bars. Okay? Let me be honest. Barry Jagdeo should be behind bars. And if the new government coming in, to the extent there's a new government in 2025, comes and just sit in power and does not have a comprehensive audit done, a comprehensive investigation of Barry Jagdeo and his actions over the amount of years that he would have been in government in Guyana, I would hold them complicit. Okay? I would hold them complicit and I would put them in the same boat as Barry Jagdeo, because there would have to be a reason why he's not being investigated. Listen, in order for Guyana to move forward, we got to have standards. We got to have standards. You know why? If we don't put standards in place, you're going to have dictator after dictator coming in and doing the same thing that Barry Jagdeo would have done to you guys. He needs to be audited. Okay? All that space out in Pradoville, all those lands that they purchased for next to nothing, they either need to come up and pay what those lands are worth or hand them over. That's a good area to take that whole area and just make it into ministries. Okay? The Guyana Broadcasting Corporation was right there in Pleasance with a tower right there. Barry Jagdeo took down all of that. Did Barry Jagdeo consult the people? We got to have standards, ladies and gentlemen. We got to have standards. I haven't heard anything on the sale of the Marriott Hotel, anything further. But I recall when he came out with that, I would have asked who gave him the permission to put that entity on sale. Because last time I heard, it was taxpayers' money that built that entity. So how can it be up for sale without getting approval from the taxpayers? And there's where you Guyanese are wrong. You guys elect and put people in power to manage your country. That is the wrong people, man. Honorary doctorate don't work for me. I like to see degrees that people work for. I like to see degrees that are earned with hard work. Anybody could sit on a toilet bowl and get an honorary degree. And is that same honorary degree is equal into the mismanagement of the resources in Guyana. We have to improve on our standards. We got to start holding people accountable. And I'm going to tell you, there's a nice little move I saw today. Not today, but this week that I like. And I might get some lashes for this. But I got to come out and I got to say, because that's what Wayne Caesar do. What's on his mind, he says it. There's no holding back of anything. I saw Mr. Norton made some moves when it comes to the central executive of the PNCR that I totally 100% agree with. You need to have separation of duties. Every MP don't need to be on the central executive. And to me, the only way an MP should qualify to be on the central executive is if that MP is excelling in his or her normal duties. Because then, if the person is excelling, it shows that, okay, they may have room to take on something else. Right? You should be rewarded based on your works. I totally agree with that position that Mr. Norton have taken with that and his team. And I say kudos to them. I say congrats to all the new members of the Central Executive. I see Miss Robin Simon is there. Miss Robin Simon, if you're watching, a pleasant good evening to you and congrats on being on the Central Executive. And if I know you well enough that you're a person that understands that being there doesn't mean that you just settle in. But I know that you're going to continue to work hard. And that's my expectation of everybody else on that Central Executive. Miss Nima flew best. Excellent. Excellent with her work. She doesn't play. That's what we need. All those who remain MPs, you need to come to the forefront. All right? Let me just use a quick example. If I am working, let's say, for Dr. David Hines today, but Monday I have a new boss, Mr. Mark Anthony Benchcott. I can't say, oh, no, I'm not working for Mark. David Hines used to be my boss. I still wanted this. No. You got to have respect for authority. There's a leader. You have a new boss. You need to respect the leader. If you got issues with certain things that the leader is doing, set up a private meeting and y'all work it out. Don't bring it public. You guys are intelligent. I shouldn't have to say this. Okay? You can't be selfish. You got to understand that you represent a constituency. You cannot be selfish. Right? Mr. Hughes, Mr. Norton, and Dr. Hines. These are the three leaders of the larger parties in the coalition, with the AFC, with the PNCR, followed by the AFC in that order, largeness, and the WPA after. They got bigger fish to fry. No more internal rifts. Okay? You have an issue, bring it up internally, and y'all deal with it as professionals, man. Okay? You guys got wrong during y'all campaigns running for leadership and whatever. Y'all get together and y'all settle it up, man. This is about the people of Guyana. No more hiccups is allowed. No more hiccups is allowed. We had enough hiccups. People need to be able to go there and choose any one of these three parties and vote for them. Again, there is a lot of pressure. There will be a lot of pressure on the incoming coalition to the extent that they win the 2025 elections. There's going to have, because already the pressure is on them to govern for all Guyanese. The pressure is on them to govern for all Guyanese. And I know that is exactly what they will do. But what I want the people to understand, especially when we look at this from an economic perspective, because that's my line of work. So I would prefer to attack it from there. All right. Number one, we don't know what the coalition is going to inherit when it comes to the treasury. We don't know what it's going to look like, ladies and gentlemen. That's number one. Number two, I am not sure if they have the up-to-date or the correct data when it comes to government expenditure in Guyana. Right? I don't have that data. Had I have that data, I would be able to break it down beautifully for you guys. But I am not pertinent to such information. Right? We don't have those two things. So when we talk about stimulus packages and these kind of things, can it happen? Absolutely. Will it happen? I expect it to. What the denominations is going to be, I don't know. Why? Because I don't have that in front of me. That's the only reason I cannot answer that question. So I say this to all Guyanese. Be cautiously optimistic. Be cautiously optimistic. There's a lot of things that this new government would have to do. There's a lot of things that I am looking out to see from them. Number one, they have to get a grasp of our natural resources. And I'm not just talking about oil, guys, because that's the first thing we talk about. Oil is the most recent. We need to reel in gold. We need to reel in bauxite. We need to reel in lumber. We need to find out who are these companies in our country that is taking and exporting our lumber. We need to make sure that they're being charged correctly and Guyanese are being paid, the Ghana government is being paid properly for these exports. Because, listen, the PPPC is a very individual party. It's about their inner circle. They can make deals where all this money is just going straight to them. We need to find out all these things. We need to find out all these things. When it comes to managing oil and gas, you cannot have somebody as experienced as Dr. Vincent Adams and have him sitting on the sideline. He's excellent with dealing with the EPA. He has great knowledge of oil and gas. We need to leverage him. We need to find out where Dr. Mark Baino is. And if he's available, we need to bring him back. These two guys were doing an excellent job building. They hired with no biases. When they check their records, they saw that equally across the board, Guyanese of African descent, Guyanese of Indian descent, they were all hired equally across the board. That's working honestly. That's something that the PPPC does not know about. Guyanese, that is what we need. We need honest leaders. We need honest experts. Okay? We need people in place that have Guyana at heart. The best interest of Guyana and its people at heart. Again, I'm going to say this again. I would like every member of parliament to be audited every 2 years, reporting all of their assets. All of their assets, liquid to non-liquid, all of it. Foreign bank accounts, everything. Barajagdio, Irfan Ali, Anil Nandalal, you guys wouldn't like this. But this is what you call getting real. Because you guys are playing with the Guyanese people. And I'm here to tell you guys that I'm not playing with you. I'm not playing with you. You guys need to be forthcoming. Because as a public accountant, I am of the belief that the Guyanese people are being robbed tremendously by you guys. Okay? A $1.16 trillion budget, and Guyanese are still experiencing blackouts. You got a ship sailing up and down, or whatever, if it's stable or whatever the case is. That ship is doing nothing for Guyana from a power perspective. But you guys continue with your backwards dealings. You're putting up tall buildings. You look at the East Coast, the low coastal plain area there, the East Coast. We know it's below sea level. The canals that we used to swim in is now little gutters. So where is water to go? Where is the water to go? Where is the water to go? Drainage and irrigation on the East Coast is mandatory. It is mandatory. And even worse now, oil is being extracted in Guyana. The ecosystem can worsen. It can worsen. We can see more rain. Right? You don't know how the extraction of that oil is impacting the landmass. Like I said before, you guys haven't called in geologists, expert geologists to come in and look at our landmass to see if there's any further sinkage or if everything is remaining normal. I'm not a scientist, but logic tells me that you would have to look into things of this nature if you're extracting oil. Logic tells me that. You could be how far out you want to be extracting the oil. It can still have an impact at the land level in Guyana. These are things that needs to be looked into when we talk about preserving Guyana. Right? This is not just about oil extraction. This is about also preserving the 83,000 square miles that is Guyana. Right? So there's a lot of work to be done. And, everybody needs to get together. I've heard of late that the PNCR might be going it alone at election time. This is just something I've heard. But I don't want everybody to holler and scream so quickly. If the parties go it alone and then collate after, it makes sense. If the party go into it as one coalition, it still makes sense. But if they go it alone and the people vote based on the counts, right, you would be able to determine who gets what amount of seats and who doesn't get and all this type of stuff. right? You would be able to make that determination. But like I said early on the program, all parties need to be campaigning and they need to be on a recruiting blitz to build out their parties. No position, no top position in a party should just be occupied. Let's get out of the habit of just occupation and let's get into the habit of execution. All right? Let's execute. Let's execute. Right? And that starts with the leader, and then it trickles down to everyone else in the party. But my overall feeling right now is that the PNCR, the AFC, the WPA is in a very strong position as a coalition, providing the execution of their mandate to make sure that a new voters list is in place and possibly biometrics is in place. You don't want a repeat of 2020. Because what you're going to do, you're going to sit there for another 5 years. Mind you, you all are going to be receiving your salaries. So you're not going to be impacted as much as the Guyanese people. And that's where I want us to focus. Everything we do, we should be focused on the people of Guyana. Because we are where we are. You guys are where you are because of them. They have put you in place to manage their resources. They have put you in place to put together and execute a plan to dismiss the PPPC come 2025. And I expect you guys to execute that plan as close to flawless as possible. Okay? Barra Jagdeo and his team, they are very worried. They are petrified. They are petrified. He's already having sleepless nights based on a few things that Mr. Hughes had to say. Mr. Norton haven't come in with his piece as yet. So when Mr. Norton comes in with his piece, I guess Barra Jagdeo will be walking around the streets of Guyana mad. Rightfully so. His game of deception will soon come to an end. All Barra Jagdeo has done for his entire political career is deceive the Guyanese people. Deceive the Guyanese people. And it has to come to an end. It has to come to an end. And I feel like if that end is so close, let me take a look at your comments. I just want to, I know we're getting close to closing time. But I still want to, I want to peep in on your comments. Marlon Thomas, protest all GCOM offices across the country. I can't disagree with that. I totally am 100% with that. I am so 100% with that. Shondell Griffith, protest is a must. Absolutely. Absolutely. How you think changes would have come around in the United States of America and other nations? Mass protests across the board. Carl Miller, pressure does bust pipe. PPP not getting any pressure. Carl Miller wants the ante to up. Carl Miller wants to up the ante. Can I disagree with Carl Miller? Absolutely not. Can't disagree with him. All right, John C. Paul. John C. Paul, I think we're on the same page, but I think you're misinterpreting me. Contingency plan question. What are you talking about, Mr. Caesar? This was the criminals in the PPP government unlawfully using the Guyana police force to demolish the homes of poor Guyanese and steal some of their possessions, including cash in the process. Mr. C. Paul, what I mean by contingency plan, they are claiming that some of this land is government reserve. Okay? So to the extent people are living on government reserve, it tells you a couple of things. All right? It tells you that your housing ministry is not doing well. They're not doing well. Because if it was a competent housing ministry, people would have been confident in going into the housing ministry and obtaining a piece of land. All right. Guyana is still a poor nation, is still a third world nation. Although we are extracting oil, right? Mr. C. Paul, I know that you would agree with me that oil revenue is not trickling down to the everyday Guyanese. So yes, they are poor people, and yes, they need to have somewhere to live, and they need to squat. I don't even like the word squatting, because I don't feel like if a person can squat in their own country, that's just Wayne Caesar's opinion. I feel like if a person just take a piece of land, whether government reserve or whatever, and set up their house there because there's nowhere else to go. Right? That's just how I feel. I don't feel a Guyanese can be squatting in Guyana. Okay? You gotta go to Trinidad or Barbados or somewhere and pick up a piece of land and just start squatting there. Then I feel like if you're squatting. Okay? Mr. C. Paul, what I mean by contingency plan, the government themselves need to clear out lands, prepare lands to these people, and say, hey, you guys can live here. You understand me? You guys can live here for now. We're going to work out on getting you guys transport for these areas. Setting up somewhere where people are able to just move and their house not being bulldozed. That's what I call a contingency. You can't just bulldoze people. I don't agree with that. No matter the circumstances, people should never be bulldozed. Never. It should never happen. You know it's what for a person to be a citizen of a country and to have their government. And what Mr. C. Paul is saying is that members of the Guyana Police Force was hired by the PPPC to demolish these properties. If Mr. C. Paul is correct here, which I'm sure he is, that's when the good police officers in the force need to be taking notes of these names. Because like I said, once a new government is in place and I hear that police officers are not being fired, I have a problem with that. These guys should be fired. They know the laws. They know the laws, and if you don't know the laws, you should not be a police officer. If you don't know the laws of policing, you should not be a police officer. So, Mr. C. Paul, I think we're on the same page. But when I say contingency, I mean prepare a place for people. You can't ask somebody to move to nowhere. Look at all those children out there. Look at all those children that were out there. Nowhere to go, nowhere to sleep. Is that fair? Irfan Ali, you got some young children. I ain't gonna worry the vice president with this. He ain't got chick nor a child. And God may never give him any with good reason. But you, Mr. Irfan Ali, you got 2 young children. Would you like to see them in the same light as those children from Sarah Johanna? Think of it. Think of that. At the same time, I want you to rethink your recent criticism of that young man from Kaieteur News that asked you a simple question. Think of it. Like I tell you, like I say to you guys, you have no empathy. You have no decorum. You guys are gangsters. You're not professional. There's nothing that's professional about you guys. You guys think bulldozing people is professional and is an answer? And then what I'm hearing that, oh, some Muslim man owned the land. Well, if it's true that I'm hearing some Muslim man owned the land, that Muslim man could go to hell. He can go to hell. Because some of those people been living there since birth, 48 years. Let the government find another piece of land for you. You ain't show up with a transport or nothing for this land in 48 years. Y'all just see that as a nice piece of land that y'all can do something. And that is where I expect a new government to look into all of these things. And to retake these lands that belongs to the state. Retake these buildings that belongs to the state. And I'm looking to see when the law is going to be put in place for every parliamentarian to be audited. This way, it's going to cut in on the stealing and corruption. Yes, they can take it and put it in somebody else's name, but there's something in accounting also called forensic, where monies can be tracked. Okay, you can't hide anything from us. If you get something past us, it's because we allow it. You can't hide anything. You cannot hide anything. Barry Jagdeo, you know that your time is going to be up soon. Your time is going to be up soon. You're not just going to be dismissed from government, but you must be thoroughly investigated. You must be thoroughly investigated. And again, as I come to a close here, it's now 2 minutes after 8. Those mothers that would have lost children, those families that would have lost loved ones during your reign, Barry Jagdeo, of terror across Guyana. Those young, especially Guyanese of African descent, that would have left their mothers' homes and never returned. The question as to why they never returned needs to be answered. And the people who are responsible for them not returning home must be brought to justice. Not just the ones that would have executed the crimes, but the ones at the top that would have allegedly ordered them. Life is a precious thing. And the PPPC continues to destroy the lives of Guyanese. Barry Jagdeo, Irfan Ali, Anil Nandalal, and the PPPC, you guys, I want you guys to just think over the 23 plus 4, 27 next year, 28 years of your reign. How many people's lives you would have destroyed? How many people's lives you would have impacted in a negative way, like our students, where you refuse to pay their teachers. And let me put this picture up here. It just brings me back to when Venezuela was encroaching upon Essequibo, considering annexing Essequibo, how the president and the quote-unquote first vice president exit the country via airplane to Panama and then to Dubai. They need to investigate to find out how much money you guys have in Dubai. All of that need to need to be investigated. Barry Jagdio and Irfan Ali, you guys thought that you were playing with a normal people. But we're going to show you guys how serious Guyanese can get. We're going to show you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to really thank you for joining. And before I even close off, I just want to say a few words. If you guys have any immigration matter spending, please contact Benchcop Immigration. Please do. Okay? Benchcop Consultancy, Immigration Law. Please do contact them. The number is 917-714-1082 and have your issues addressed. And this program is brought to you compliments of Benchcop Consultancy, Immigration and Law. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Thank you guys so much. I saw Mr. Neville Seatel, Civic is here, Yonet Elias is here, Carl Miller is here, Marlon Thomas, you are here. Good evening, Miss Thomas. Neil Diamond Star, I see you, sir. P. Alicock, I see you. I see some of you guys came on a bit later on. I didn't get to call your name up front. Paulianne Schultz, I see you. I see all you guys. Kevin Cook, Annette Gordon, Shondell Jerio, I see all of you guys here. Patricia Kisoon, I am seeing you guys. Okay. Remington Clark, I see you. If I didn't call your name, I always go back through my comments. If you guys have any messages you want to send me or anything, you can either inbox me or you could leave it right here. I go through and I read every comment. Mr. John C. Paul, thank you so much for your comment also, and thank you for joining the program. I want to thank everyone. I want you guys to go ahead and have a pleasant weekend. Listen, we are on the verge of recapturing our beautiful nation, Guyana. Let's keep our heads up. The fight continues. My brothers and sisters, I will see you at some point next week on the Straight Up program. In the meanwhile, you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend and be safe on the highways and byways, my brother. Have a good one.
Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love upon the dam and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Police are come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police are come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman are come.
Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.